Hello and welcome to another edition of Pulp Picks. My name is Patrick.
I'm Fritz.
And we're here at our new location after taking not really a week off, but we didn't do a video last week. And we're going to give you this week's reading recommendations on New Comic Book Day. So today marks day one of week 2 in our new location. We're 1 block south of where we were at 731 South Front Street. We had Free Comic Book Day happen. We had a couple local creators who are self-publishing some stuff show up for that. We had all kinds of fun face painting and cookies and free comic books, of course. And then we also had some sales.
It was so crazy and busy here. I wasn't even supposed to work Saturday. Yeah. And I just hopped on the till for a bit because of how popping it was.
It was bonkers. And what a great way to christen the new building. And so if you haven't been down yet, we highly recommend you check it out. There's some pictures of stuff that are online, and we'll see if we can do maybe kind of a recap of the process that went into it. But we're back to business. Everything's up and running. Maybe not exactly where it's going to stay, but we've got new comic books on the wall and an opportunity for people to come in and get them. So what do you recommend that they check out?
Yeah, so my pick this week is Free Planet. It's a new series from Image. And this one was when I saw it in the previews a while back and just kind of was like, oh, this looks kind of interesting. I'll check it out. I'm not super familiar with the writer's work. I feel like I've heard the name before, Aubrey Sitterson.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
I feel I've heard. I've seen the artist Jed Daughtry. They've done some other indie stuff here and there. I think they've done some stuff at Dark Horse and that. But I don't know. Honestly, their art was one of the main draws. Is I don't know how to describe it, but there's a very kind of 90s Dark Horse sci-fi feel to it.
Yeah, for sure.
So the premise of this book is this far-flung point in the future. Humanity left Earth way long ago.
Yep.
It's not even there's even mention that some of the ships got so separated from each other that they evolved into divergent species on some planets.
Yep.
To give you an idea of just how weird everything is already. But there's basically this one conglomerate that's kind of controlled of human territory throughout space for a while now, and at some point one of the planets they control decides to kind of rise up and is eventually able to kick this conglomerate off of the planet. It becomes the first title drop free planet in basically recorded human history at this point. And now comes the actual hard part of now we're free, what do we do now?
Right, yeah.
So we get this very eclectic cast of characters, all from different backgrounds. Some of them are former military personnel, some of them are from different religious factions, one's a robot, and so all of them with their different perspectives, trying to be okay, what how do we bring all these disparate groups that were able to come together to fight this war, but are they going to be able to actually keep the peace and build a society from the ashes? And it throws a lot at you. I won't lie. There's a couple sections where just and here's what happened with the agrarian economy. It's there's a lot of that, but it never really feels super overwhelming.
Sure.
It's just enough to feel you're really just kind of diving into this world without feeling okay, wait, who's who again? Each kind of it kind of sections off little portions where you get some backstory on a certain character. You kind of figure out what's their relationship with various parts of the history of this world. And I don't know, I just find that kind of world building super fascinating. Just the whole vibe of this world in general. It feels familiar but different in a very fun way.
Sure, yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm on a kick from the new season of Andor going on right now. But it's super. One of the interesting parts of all that is just how do these different groups of people kind of work together to be able to achieve these almost insurmountable goals.
Yep.
And Andor is very much if you're not familiar with the show, about how the rebellion gets to where we see it in the original trilogy of Star Wars. This is kind of okay, what happens after that, which is funny because there's also a new Star Wars book that's also basically about that out this week, which also give that a check. It was fun. Phil Noda on Star Wars is always good art-wise. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this. There's a little preview at the end kind of showing like some of the other stuff that might be coming down the line in the book. There's a section at the end that's also just kind of like, just the text only kind of like dive into like the history of like one of the other planets that's like nearby that I found very interesting. But no, definitely like, you can tell when a book, and we've talked about this with Dennis Camp stuff, when a book has very much an eye towards like elements of like repeating elements of human history, like how like workers groups, like how different like political factions splinter off from each other. You can really feel that in here.
Sure.
And I really want to see like where they go from there. Because it's one thing when you have those kind of like elements, but then when it's like in this like very fantastical sci-fi setting, like what you can really like do with that.
Right.
And yeah, they're off to a really good start here, and I can't wait to see more.
Yeah, fantastic.
But yeah, speaking of weird alien stuff.
Yeah, so I went with Absolute Superman number 7. Jason Aaron is deepening the plot as we go here. So we knew that Brainiac existed, but we didn't know if Brainiac was just kind of like an artificial intelligence that was developed here on Earth, and it was connected with Raj Al Ghul. And how's all that happening? Which is kind of an interesting twist. You know, we've been talking about in the videos how the absolute world is kind of spinning some things around. So to have Raj Al Ghul show up in Superman as opposed to Batman is interesting.
Yeah.
So we find out in this one Brainiac's origin, and it involves a shovel, and so it's really interesting and extremely twisted. So we've got this group of soldiers, I guess, that are attempting to
infiltrate, I think would
infiltrate and probably destroy what they think is Brainiac. And so it sounds kind of like they're thinking like, oh, we're going to go take out this computer installation. We're not exactly sure why or who sent them in or any of that stuff, but it's interesting. And then how this is all tying together with the lanes and, you know, because they're making, you know, Lois has been making reports to Brainiac. And we also find out that Brainiac is obsessed with Superman and finding out where Superman came from and how Superman's able to do what Superman's capable of doing. You know, that would be really difficult. So Brainiac's twisted.
Yeah, it's a very different, but at the same time, like again, it's one of those takes where it's just like, oh, like you get like how you can like extrapolate what the character normally is, and then how you get here. Like just it's such a different, but I don't know if fun is the right word, because it's like you're saying, it's very like twisted and like this is a very like messed up Brainiac. But,
it's off-putting, but it's interesting.
Almost in like kind of like a pitiful way. Like this is a Brainiac with a lot of different things thrown at him. That
a lot of trauma issues. And then seeing how this bigger picture all comes together is going to be really interesting too. I thought the art was excellent in this one again. Some body horror stuff going on. Even just like the creative descriptions of what happened in the confrontation. Oh man, it's
I love the bit where she's like, what happened to that guy? And Brainiac's just like, well, I did this.
Right, yeah. And I guess, you know, we're not really spoiling anything since Brainiac's right on the cover here. Brain exposed. So we can say this Brainiac is an individual. It's interesting. But again, they're taking elements from all the classic stories. You know, there's shrunken cities that Brainiac has collected, and
there's like the weird numbering schema that they have.
Yep. Yeah, I particularly enjoyed the I'm Brainiac 2 million, whatever,
Yeah.
I stabbed.
Yeah.
Like that was, so that was also kind of an interesting take too, because my past experience with Brainiacs is they all kind of do anything a Brainiac can do.
Yeah.
Whereas these seem to be developed to have very specific, and I don't know if they're even, we were kind of hypothesizing about that.
Mhm.
Are they all the same and they're just given different tasks and slightly different programming? Or are they actually made differently? Do they have different intellectual capacities? Or
Well, because there's like the interesting bit like at the beginning where we first like meet like Brainiac, like when he first kind of like came online. It's also
when he gets the shovel.
Yeah, when he gets the shovel, and like the person like telling him what to do is like clearly like not happy that like he's asking like questions. Just like, no, you've got this job. You just do this job. Why are you asking me questions about things?
Right. Yeah.
Like, so it's just like, so clearly like there's already like some kind of like baseline thing going on there that like maybe like it's unclear like where exactly like do the Brainiacs sit in relation to each other kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when you jump into the story, you realize, oh, this guy's twisted, but then with the origin, there's some sympathy and empathy that you're feeling. So yeah, it's kind of an emotional roller coaster.
It's also one of those things where like, so we get like where Brainiac's at now, we kind of get like his very origins, but there's definitely like this other like middle space that we're not seeing yet.
Right. Yeah.
Because like even where we like see him at the end of kind of like the flashback sequence is still very different from where we see him now.
Yes. Yep.
So,
yep. Yeah, and we're kind of jumping back and forth in time to get the backstory and whatever, but it was really good. So I enjoyed it. Well, speaking of jumping around in time in an absolute book, it took me a second to get oriented at the beginning of Absolute Green Lantern #2.
Yeah. So also a fun little thing. There is like a quick little mention of maybe some Lantern related stuff in here too, which is I think outside of the Free Comic Day special, which I believe, do we still have copies of, or did we sell out of those ones?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
We do still have, because I got one for someone yesterday.
Okay.
But this is like one of the first kind of like mentions I think I've seen of any of the books kind of like mentioning something that's like in one of the other, which is because they talk about like they want to like kind of slow roll like how these things start to connect.
Yes.
And which I think has been very much to each book's benefit, because
absolutely
it really
Oh yeah,
did
sure.
You, okay,
no, didn't.
Okay.
No.
But I think it's very much to their benefits, because like with these books, then you get to really focus on like these main characters and kind of like how we're like showing like how they're different but familiar. And this issue, we kind of pick up where we left off last time, where Joe and Hal are dealing with the fallout of whatever this initial like event in Evergreen is, before kind of flashing back to there. And this is a very different Advent, sir. Like,
so it kind of gives you whiplash trying to figure out who's the good guy and who's the bad guy in all of this.
Well, it's also
might be bad guy and worse guy.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things they also, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's not just a weird little thing I noticed, is that it's not that his name is Advent, he like also specifically refers to himself as the Advent, which I'm not sure what I'm not sure what
title is opposed to a name,
which is an interesting implication. But yeah, just like all the little bits, because we kind of get to learn a little bit more about like how maybe some of the powers work. Like there's like talk about like operating at like the green like wavelength or something like that. Like there's
it's interesting. So, we're going with this light spectrum. Is it it appears to be connected to the emotional spectrum. But how? And then there's also obviously a more backstory, more that's happened between Abin Sur, or the Abin Sur, showing up and Joe and Hal having their conversation here.
Yeah. Which things are not looking good for Hal. Like
and why? So I think we talked about with #1 that if we didn't see pretty much most of the Earth Green Lanterns in this reality's version of them, they were alluded to. So and that continues. No Kyle yet, right?
Yeah, no Kyle or Simon.
No Kyle or Simon, or the little girl. I can't remember her name now.
Kelly, I think.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we've got John and Joe and Hal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so and Guy.
Yeah.
Guy show, and that's kind of the pivotal scene where things kind of take a turn. It's got kind of a War of the Worlds kind of vibe. It's like people aren't sure how to react to this crazy event that's happening.
And there's a lot of talk about willpower in here, which is obviously expected from a Lantern comic, but like it's also like it's not actually clear what they mean by that, because like you think what's about to happen, and then like something else, and then it's just like, okay, so what happens now outside of horror? Because like that's the thing they talked about a lot. Like this book's going to lean some more into like some like horror aspects of it, and they definitely do that a lot more this issue. Like again, like this version of Evan Sur is like, even when he's not like, when he's just standing there, it's just like has a very intimidating presence. Like he's got like this like head tendril thing, and all I can think was just like, oh, he's just like Majin Buu from Dragon Ball.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
and you're not sure like what the correct response is, because you kind of get the impression that he looks at the humans that he's encountering similar to like ants.
Yeah, like he doesn't seem to really like, he's just more like, okay, let's see how you react to the things I'm doing, and we'll take it from there. Like he doesn't really seem to care about like people as individuals.
Yeah,
like,
and there seems to be some sort of test or something that's happening, but we're not privy to why or what the test actually involves, and what a positive outcome would be versus a negative outcome.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure that we saw what the negative outcome is. But is that just because they're interfering or they're not submitting to the test? So there's still a lot of questions.
Yeah. And again, it's like, it's all that, and then having these characters have to like deal with these like very weird situations and kind of like their interplay. Like there's like, after the aftermath of last issue, Joe's just like, Hal, what did you do? And it's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like there's like, it's very interesting having the characters as in the dark as like, obviously we the readers, just having read a bunch of comics, like can kind of like do it like, oh, maybe like this is what's happening, but at the same time, like it's like, who knows? Like it's like it's a fun mystery, and I'm very like excited to see like how it continues to unravel, because like each issue so far, we're definitely kind of like getting more, and I'm sure once we get to whatever the core of it is, it's going to be something very unsettling, considering how things have been going so far. Yeah. I am enjoying that kind of classic, more scary sci-fi kind of aspect to it. It's been really good. All right, well, it's been 2 weeks. So we've got some of last week's books and this week's books. What else was close up here for you? What's worth mentioning? So let's see. From this week, a new issue of Mascard came out, which continues to just be fantastic. There's a little bit at the back where, again, they kind of show like some of like the concept art, and then like some like the rough pages for stuff that's just like, I wish more comics would do that, just because it's cool to get to see like the process in motion. Yeah, but that was good. New issue Resurrection Man, which on that note, sad to see the passing of Butch Geist last week. Which unfortunately, because of when this went to print, they weren't able to like make a note of that in there. But I know Ram V has posted about that. But no, those were both really strong this week. If we're talking like stuff from last week, we were talking about before, like Ultimate Spider-Man. So good. One of those like, and like some of the aspects that like show up in there, like some people have been theorizing for a while, but like the way it still plays out is like very like different and interesting. Like, like because it's like one of those things where like, oh, okay, a lot of these kind of things put together now, but also like, okay, but what else is going on? Like there's like a lot more kind of like being thrown out there. God, I'm trying to. Despite being a fifth week last week, there was a lot of other like stuff. So there was some good stuff. Yeah, Void Rivals. Void Rivals was really good, which I think do we still have some of the free comic book day special for the Energon stuff? Because I believe that I put a packet in there. Yeah. So which is a great segue. Yeah. So Free Comic Book Day was this past Saturday, and we still have 3 short boxes full of free comics. So if you missed out on it,
stop on in. We don't have every single title.
Yeah, there's a couple that we sold out.
But there's a bunch of good stuff in there yet. So yeah, stop on in. Yeah.
Anything that you were?
Well, Amazing Spider-Man this is definitely better. It's kind of more along the lines of the kind of standard fare that we were getting for a while there from like Dan Slott's era. It kind of reminds me of that.
Okay.
The art is gorgeous. The story's got more of a point. It feels like it's a little more focused.
It feels like they're going somewhere.
Yeah, and I don't love every aspect of it. It still feels like they think that they've got to kind of reinvent Peter Parker and therefore make Spider-Man more, I don't know, edgy or relatable today. But I don't know that that's... I think of it a lot. Well, no, I just think universal truths are universal, you know, and so having him be, you know, trying to be one of the bad. I want to get along with the bad crowd. Like I just always liked him as being always the outsider, like always feeling like he never quite fit in, particularly in his youth. Not that, you know, he never was friendly with anybody, but this is kind of an interesting retcon that I'm not sure where they're going with this.
Yeah.
My guess is it's something that's going to kind of come to some sort of conversation that he has with Aunt May about this. But again, you know, sometimes when they go back and change the history of a character, it feels a little disjointed because it's like, well, why would we have never heard about this in the last 60 years of writing stories about it? So I don't know. It's better. I know that a lot of people are getting back to picking it back up again after the end of the last run. So, but the art is gorgeous. It's like fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Spider-Man, they just announced a new Black Cat series yesterday. So if you want to get signed up for that, let us know. Obviously, that's going to be a popular one. People love them some Black Cat.
Yeah, and we've got a bunch of stuff coming up. So we've got Imperial happening on the Marvel side. We're seeing Hulk and a bunch of other people now showing up in the solicits. It's going to be really good.
And I think they've said that like coming out of Imperial, there's going to be like 4 main like space titles. Yep. So like super curious, like.
Yeah, because they hit pause on all that stuff for quite a while.
Yeah, no, it's been just on the back burner outside like Phoenix since the end of the last Guardians run.
Yep, and then what are they calling this Black Panther-led event?
I'm trying to remember, but yeah, because it's
on the back of all the Marvel books this week.
Yeah, but it's because it's reteaming Christopher Priest and Joe Quesada from the old Marvel Knights days back in the late 90s, early 2000s, which I think, is this the first time that Quesada's provided regular interior art in like, I don't know how long, since maybe one more day, which is not the thing you want to be compared to, obviously.
Right,
but.
Yeah, he did a special or something a few years back, but it was just very, very short. Yeah. So on a regular book, this was the first thing that I can think of in a very long time.
Yeah.
So hopefully he knocked the rust off those pencils. And
I mean, his covers he's been doing the last couple of years have been super.
He hasn't missed a beat. But that's they're saying that it's going to introduce a new character and that it's going to change. Of course, all the same stuff that we always say. We've got as far as just kind of interesting upcoming stuff. So we've been one of our best-selling graphic novels of the last year was the reprinting of 1 through 50 of the original G.I. Joe Real American Hero run. Now we've got the comparable compendium coming out for Transformers this summer. I think it's beginning of July it releases.
I think so. That sounds right.
So get your pre-orders in for that if you're interested. It's going to, so that one's doing the U.S. and some of the U.K. stuff in there, is my understanding.
Well, there's the Kickstarter one that's got like everything.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so that's a separate thing.
So is this just 1 through 50 of the
I think it's just
series?
for the American comic.
Okay.
Yeah,
but for $60, I think is what it retails, and you're getting 50 issues.
Some of the stuff which has probably never been reprinted before due to like the weird legal things that is Transformers and Marvel.
Yeah, Transformers, Marvel, Hasbro, and now Image. Throw Image into the works. Yeah. We're finally getting some resolution, or it looks like we're getting some resolution on the Diamond stuff, so hopefully we'll know
Good
what
resolution for that
means.
matter.
Yeah. So if you've got Dynamic Forces books on order or something, we've been ordering stuff for people. They haven't shipped anything Dynamic Forces in, I can't even remember.
Yeah. So
8 months, a year? I mean, it's been forever.
It's been a while, yeah. But
so a lot of stuff happening.
Summer
right
of
now.
Superman over at DC.
Summer of Superman,
got all kinds of stuff with the main books. We've got a couple new ones coming up, like Superman Unlimited, Supergirl.
Yep. The Supergirl title. I was going to bring that up. I'm kind of interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, because Sophie Campbell, I'm mostly familiar with her. She did a bunch of like Turtle stuff a couple years back, and I really enjoyed that. So having her do a Supergirl book, I think, is a good get. I'm super excited that they're finally Philip Kennedy Johnson, who had one of my favorite ones on Action Comics the last couple of years, is finally getting to like kind of do the end cap to a Superman saga with the new like 12-issue maxi series coming out later this year. So cannot wait for that.
Yeah, it is going to be the Summer of Superman. Mm-hmm. We'll see how the movie does and everything, but I'm interested. I'm going back and reading All-Star Superman in preparation for all of that, and so yeah, that's been kind of my old book that I've been diving into. So, well, again, we're in our new space. You can tell by looking behind us. The backdrop might change a little bit as we go forward. We're not entirely sure how we want to set up these videos. We'll have to see kind of how they turn out. But it's nothing like seeing in person. So you should stop on down, check out the shop. Even if you're just looking for some of the leftover free comic book day stuff, you don't have to buy something to come into the shop. We're happy to chat with people. We're back up and running. So we're not at 100% efficiency yet, because people will ask us for something and we'll be like, I think that's in a box that I came across a week ago. Where did that end up? Literally, we're doing that to get ready for the video this morning. But we're super excited about this new space. The front exterior of the store isn't quite done yet, but the interior, we're getting really, really close. So come on in, check it out. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, comment, share. Yeah, all that good stuff. Support your local comic shop. We will be back next week with another video, and until then, enjoy the reading.
Also, just all the activity and stress of doing this is just going to wear on you.
I might have caught this cold 2 weeks ago, and I just willed it to stay in the background. Like, there is no time for you. I have got a building to get prepared.
I wish there was a way I could just like on like a fishing line, just like dangle into a Green Lantern ring of just like, Patrick, you have great willpower. You suppressed the cold for 2 weeks. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you didn't even use zinc.